Hello there, and welcome to Thank the Maker, a podcast about heroes, princesses, scoundrels, hokey religions, ancient weapons, and all things Star Wars. I'm Adam Russell, and look, we're a real podcast. Look.
Hey, I'm Nick Ganbarian on the Real Podcast.
Hey guys, I haven't seen you in a while. It's Mike, aka Hondo Supply, hanging out, talking to you guys. It's been a while, and I'm sorry I haven't been here, but I'm so excited to be here with you guys.
Apology not accepted.
Who are you?
Had one job.
JK, it's awesome to have you here, dude. We're stoked. So, as you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, we look like a real YouTube channel. I'll just say it. You don't have to tell me that we do, because I know we do. Thanks to Mike.
I'm going to say 2/3. Well, thanks to Mike, absolutely. And hey, thanks to Roosevelt.
Yeah.
But I need to work on my lighting, guys. I'm not ready for the big screen. That is silver for the moving pictures. I'm not ready.
You look good. We look goodish. It's work in progress.
Yeah.
But the overlay looks dope. I'm a fan. Mike made this literally 15 minutes ago as we were sitting here, because we're using this new streaming software, and I was like, hey, we can do this, this, and this.
Amazing.
And he just knocked it out.
What a
very
guy.
Impressive. Most impressive.
My clones are very impressive.
So
we're talking about Star Wars? What's going on?
Yeah, we're going to do that.
I think
we like Star Wars.
This week, we're going to do it. We're going to talk about Star Wars.
Yeah, we're going to turn over a new leaf. We're switching to Star Wars. So I don't want to say we didn't have anything to talk about, but the stuff we have queued up is kind of on hold. It's coming up in a few weeks, and then we've got a thing later in June, because we've got the behind the scenes for the Mandalorian season 3 coming up. And we're in this in-between time, and with a lot of things going on with us being in bands and playing shows, we're trying to organize the schedule. And we decided, since we just launched new Patreon tiers less than a month ago, we have a bunch of new patrons, and we're doing this video thing. Shout out to everyone who's subscribed since then. We got a bunch of new patrons. It's awesome. The community's growing. We wanted to do something Patreon-centered, specific. So I wouldn't call this like a full-blown AMA, but I went to the Discord server and hit up the patrons and asked for suggestions on topics or questions. Kind of just want to like hang and just talk Star Wars, since we're here streaming. And I was hanging on the Yellow Card stream last night, because they just debuted their new EP, and everyone was just hanging out, having cocktails and just chilling. And it just seemed like a fun vibe to do that with Star Wars tonight with you dudes.
Yeah.
Well,
I like it.
That's okay.
I mean, I think that there's probably some core memory created during COVID that this is how we all kind of hang out. Not just us, but people in general. So yeah, I feel like it's just something that people do now, if it's a last resort, as opposed to like getting together and actually doing it. And for a lot of people in the modern age, no one lives near each other, or it's possible you don't live near some of your best friends. So this is how you hang out.
That's it with us for sure. Like we all became friends exactly like this.
Adam didn't even know that I had a bottom half.
No,
wild.
I thought you were a floating torso.
Yeah. When I showed up in Florida, he was like, your legs, you can walk.
Thought
I expected to
maybe
see
there was like a spider legs, like Darth Maul situation going on with Mike.
Could be. Yeah.
Maybe like just a pram just below the nards,
Right.
Yeah, top half, Lieutenant Dan style. But no, Mike has legs.
I do today, yeah.
So let's actually, before we dig into the Patreon stuff, I want to talk about something that it just struck me as funny. The past 24 hours, we've been working for a few weeks on something, but the past 24 hours, I was specifically pulling a bunch of samples from the original trilogy, the audio samples to use for this project. And I was going through the Darth Vader stuff, and there's something really interesting that happens when you're not only not watching Star Wars, but you have the dialogue absolutely isolated. Shout out to Henry Clark, by the way, for helping me out with this and hooking it up. We took so he got the full quality 4K versions of the films in 7.1 surround sound, and then just pulled out the center channel, because in surround, the center channel is mostly dialogue. There's some other stuff, but it's like the best way to completely isolate it if you don't have the multi-track session. So we got this, and I'm just going through, and I went through like all 3 movies to just get Vader. I'm like going character by character.
Mhm.
Funny thing is, turns out there's like 10 minutes or less of total dialogue period with Vader. That's not on screen time, but like
That
words spoken.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That tracks.
And if you could guess the order of the 3 films, most to least dialogue, Mike, go first. What would you guess?
Most, are we talking just original trilogy?
Mm-hmm. Vader.
Most is Empire. Second is Return of the Jedi, and 1 is A New Hope.
Nick?
I'll go Return of the Jedi, the most, Empire, and then New Hope last.
Mike wins.
Haha.
It's not
I had to do something different.
Yeah, that's true. You could just say like ditto.
It's not by much between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, but they're both quite a bit more than A New Hope.
Mhm.
And that makes sense. Like with the way that Lucas originally saw Vader as just like a crony of the Empire of Tarkin, you know, before he had the whole idea of this becoming the Anakin Skywalker story.
Mm-hmm.
No, I had the idea the whole time. You got your facts wrong.
I missed that impression a lot.
Why do we
Now that we're on
always? Why do
YouTube.
we, whenever we talk George Lucas impressions, we always give him a Southern accent? Why do we do that?
That's just
Well-
easier.
Well, Nick's just a big Bill Clinton fan, so
That's true. Everyone who is.
Have you
over the
ever
age of
seen Bill
50
Clinton and George Lucas in the same place?
Oh, actually,
valid question.
Mm-hmm.
This is where conspiracy YouTube channels start.
It's like putting
yeah.
on. It's like putting on like the fake glasses with the nose, and then you can't tell, or like Superman. It's like all you got to do is, if you're George Lucas, throw on a Southern accent,
Nice.
and no one could tell that.
That's
who you are
definitely
anymore.
not Clark Kent up in the sky with that giant red cape on for sure. Because Clark Kent has glasses.
It can't possibly be him.
There's no way.
So there's just something like really transformative about, I don't know if that's the right word. It's a whole different feeling when you're just listening to the audio. Number one, it's funny how well I know these movies, and I'm sure you guys be the exact same way. As I'm skipping through, I'm just like skipping ahead, a few seconds at a time with the keystroke, just and I hear things, and I'm like, oh no, it's coming up here. Nope, there it is. Back up. I just like know exactly where all the stuff is, all the beats. But then like you hear, especially on A New Hope, how absolutely janky the audio is.
Yeah.
Like all the stuff on the Tantive 4, or a lot of the like the Death Star conference room stuff, you can hear the edits and the going from one mic to another, or different take, different mic position.
Right.
It's like blatant. And then the interesting thing going from A New Hope to the other two is how James Earl Jones's voice, the version of Vader that he does, changes. There's definitely different stuff with the effects, how they processed it, how they EQ'd it. But I mean, he was, I don't want to say he was winging it, but he was still figuring it out in A New Hope. And then there's like a drastic difference in his timbre, his tone. Like, it's several notes lower, like his kind of average note that he's hitting, that register. And there's some stuff in A New Hope also that's just hilarious. when you hear it isolated and it doesn't have the image to go along with it, and it doesn't have the score and everything so much. So I have a bunch here and I want to play them, and it's good stuff. So A New Hope, right?
Commander, tear this ship apart until you found those plans.
Just the pitch,
Yeah.
Yeah.
pretty high compared to
Captain Piet. Obi-Wan can no longer help him.
You know what I mean? Different vibe, like different pitch, much lower.
Is that pretty much like A New Hope when he basically yells? Is that like the only time we ever heard him like get visibly angry, besides the slash on his arm where he's kind of yelps?
Whoa!
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are things in A New Hope that approach where he went in The Empire Strikes Back, like this is closer.
The ability to destroy a planet is insignificant.
You know what I mean?
Right.
This,
He is here.
you know, that's a little more. But he has this like higher register, almost like mid-Atlantic kind of accent that he's doing. Like it's got little, it's very like thespian kind of.
Sure. Which would track for his acting career at the time.
Yeah.
He's a stage actor, so sure.
Then he fully settles into,
What is it, General?
you know, this
And I'm sure Skywalker is with them.
with them.
But
like the way,
isn't this also like filming this and Carrie Fisher's disappearing English accent in the first like
yeah.
10 seconds of the
Yeah.
I don't think I could do the accent. George is like, don't worry about it. No one's gonna know. Like just speak
Yeah.
in your normal voice.
Yeah, just carry on.
So good.
Oh
This-
boy.
This is the one that made me laugh out loud when I heard it, because once I got them all, they're all isolated into separate samples, and I was just tapping through the preview, you know, just going through over and over and over, and they're all I trimmed all the silence, so it's over and over, and some just jumped out at me like that's funny, like this one.
Did you find any droids?
He sounds like
Yeah.
Peter Sellers, like Inspector Clouseau, like
Did you find any droids?
did you find any drugs?
Uh,
You know, isn't it just like so different to hear it?
You have only begun to discover your power, your training. With our combined strength, we can end this destructive conflict.
You know what I mean?
Goofy.
It's very pulpy. It's very pithy.
Yeah. I mean, I love it,
He is here.
but it's just,
I told you she would never consciously betray the rebellion.
I told you, it's
I don't like it. Turn it off, please.
it's like the greatest villain of all time. Like everyone loved this dude, and the fan response was like part of the reason that Lucas elevated him as a character, and it was this guy.
Leave that to me.
You know,
Leave that to me.
Commander, tear this ship apart until you found those plans.
you know.
But see, all I hear
Give me
when
the
he does
passengers.
is in Sandlot. Like
Yeah.
that's all I can see.
Just
I
in
want them
without
alive.
seeing Darth Vader, it just sounds like he's like this.
Like he's got a
Oh, this is bad.
he's got a trash can on his head. He's just yelling. Yeah, damn kids.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
it's great though. I love it.
so to update the George Bush, who are we talking about?
Georgia Bush.
Not
George
Bush.
Lucas,
Bill Clinton,
George Clinton.
Lucas.
George Clinton.
When I said that,
There
have
it
you ever
is.
seen him in the same place? Two people in the chat, Henry and Jason, both were like, actually in the Roosevelt Room of the White House in October of 1995.
All right,
So-
we stand corrected.
That's good.
Well,
Me and Johnny Hopkins smoking that shit every day.
theory squashed. All right, let's talk about some things the patrons want to talk about. So we've got the first thing from Sextooth, sick
Oh.
screen name.
Hello there.
This is something that we covered a little bit, but I figured we should do it a little bit more. Nick doesn't remember doing it. Maybe you weren't here.
Man, my
Nick doesn't
my
even know what
brain,
planet he's on.
Yeah,
Was you
my
high?
brain is it ain't great these days, guys.
Get a new brain, bro.
So
So
I remember Celebration. I don't remember talking about the movies, but I trust you. You said we did. Okay, good.
we did a little bit, I feel like, on the first YouTube video,
Yeah, that makes sense.
podcast, whatever.
Mhm.
But since you were there, let's talk a little more. Sextooth just wants to hear our thoughts on the three new movies that were announced at Star Wars Celebration 2023.
Ooh.
Those three movies being James Mangold's Jedi origin story. James Mangold, who did Logan, you know, the Wolverine, like the best damn non-MCU Marvel movie period. I think like that's almost an objective truth. And Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which looks awesome.
Mhm.
He's done a bunch of other stuff.
He
versus
was
Ferrari.
at some point doing a Boba Fett movie, right?
That's
Yeah,
what I
that-
think
yeah.
the show turned
Which
into.
transitions into my first point about all of these movies. Don't get too excited. How many things has Star Wars announced and canceled
Yeah.
in the last 5 years? So I feel confident that we're getting them. I mean, they seem like they're relatively down the path of making them, but I'm just saying they cancel a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Fire
I
a
feel
lot
good
of
about
directors.
this one. Yeah. That is, like I said, the Jedi origin story is supposed to take place thousands of years before the prequels. It's been referred to as a biblical epic. I think that's what he said. Right? Like old school, just like, you know, the scale of like a Ten Commandments kind of thing, I think was the vibe. What was the conversation like at Celebration, Nick? Because he was on stage, right?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't really get into too much. I could be mistaken, but I think that just the facts of it being whatever they said, like 25,000 years or something, was exciting enough. I mean, they really didn't get too much into all of those. Even when they brought Filoni up, I mean, they said kind of the same stuff that they've said all the time, that it's going to be like this culminating, like kind of battle of the Mandalorian universe. But yeah, the Mangold stuff, I don't remember anything like really sticking out besides the time frame of it being, I want to say it was 25,000.
So there are some now Legends books. I think there's a trilogy about the Jedi origin story. And there's a thing, I forgot what it's called, but it looks like the mortise sort of, what do you call that? The structure, it's like two pyramids, you know, one upside down, one right side up, connected. Whatever that shape is called, floating throughout the universe. And I haven't read these. I've only read about them. But that takes place 25,000 years ago. And when I read this synopsis, or, you know, whatever you call it, the description that's like on the back or on the inside sleeve, whatever, my first thought was, man, I want something that's just like on a planet. Maybe one spaceship can get out in orbit. This is just like, you know, like maybe 20th century level technology. You know, I don't want something that spans the entire galaxy. I want some old shit. Because 25,000 years before the original trilogy implies to me, like, people are just out there driving internal combustion engine cars and, you know, using, you know, hairspray that's killing the ozone. Like it isn't like interstellar travel type stuff. So if this really is a biblical epic, maybe he's going that route. Maybe he's keeping it. Maybe there's no technology. Maybe it's just a straight up.
What if? I mean, here we are. We're just riffing now. This structure thing exists. The Force exists. But really, this is the story of the first Jedi. So maybe it's just somebody on Earth somebody out there in the galaxy who taps into the Force, and the structure, you know, mortis comes down, you know, the father, son, daughter, like all those entities come down and are like, wait a minute, you could use the Force, you feel the Force, something like that. So maybe it wouldn't have to be technology, but it would be almost this contacting of something greater than that person for the first time.
Yeah, like a spiritual version of like the Star Trek First Contact kind of thing.
Yeah.
I can get with that. The bum out, to me, it's a stupid, unrealistic bum out. But Ryan mentioned this on that stream, that I've been like casually working on a Jedi origin story that is kind of like that, like just one planet. Maybe there are two planets in the solar system that have life, kind of thing, but it stays in the one solar system. And I had like 3 key ideas that I thought would just be the sickest thing ever to see on screen. And I don't know. I knew this was going to happen. Something like I was going to not write the thing. Even if I wrote it and sent it, nothing was ever going to happen with it. Someone was going to make this movie, and I was just going to, you know, be grumpy in my basement. But I think I'll love it regardless.
Yeah.
You have to write it. You announced that you were writing it. You have to finish it now.
No, when the movie comes out and half of the fandom doesn't like it, you could be like, my version was better.
Yeah, I told you so. They would have hired me.
I have a GoFundMe. All I need is like $20 million.
I will make this movie badly.
I'm gonna light up those comments, dude. You just
Mhm.
wait. No, what I really need is, Nick, for you to hit up your boy Matt. I'm gonna give him a post-it note with 3
Okay.
concepts on it.
Mhm.
Have him send it on through. Just through story group. Hey James, it's a few ideas. I want you to check them out, like Hurley and Lost style,
Yeah.
and see
Sure.
if it shakes out. Or we'll just write the whole thing anyway, and it could be on another planet. Because if it is like a first contact thing, this idea that someone discovers the Force has to happen for the first time for like every species that ever
Yeah.
connects to the Force.
What is the terminology? The first Jedi or like the first four? Like, did they discover the Force? It
Is
has
it
to exist, right?
is
This
it
Force has to chicken. It's
Right.
a chicken or egg thing, right?
is it
So
the
does the Sith-
origin of the Jedi Order?
The wording was something like the first person who figure out how to wield the Force.
Mhm. Float
That's my
rocks?
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
That
So-
actually would be amazing. Ow, I stubbed my toe. Ah, and all of a sudden, like, oh, whoa, how do I do that again? And
Dude,
it's just a person just stubbing their toe and pushing mountains over.
that's an absolutely valid way to discover it. And how funny would it be if they discovered the dark side first?
Yeah, I
Just
was
by
going to
being
say
so
that
pissed.
sounds
By being angry.
That's rooted in anger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. Oh man. Oh my god, this power. This power.
It's pretty sick. You should have seen the rocks, dude. They're everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
All right, then the other movie that has everybody just up in arms. I was arguing about it today, as is tradition, because I just can't not.
Hmm.
Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, if I'm pronouncing that name correctly, director of Miss Marvel and Saving Face, is doing a new sequel trilogy era, post-sequel trilogy, post-Rise of Skywalker, feature with Daisy Ridley back as Rey, building a new Jedi Order. We're stoked for this, obviously. We've talked about that a bit. Since we're speculating, we're just doing it. You think they're going to go, 10, 15 years within the time frame of what has passed? Or are they going to go way far?
I think they said it was 10 or 15.
Okay, sick.
Yeah. That was, I want to say it was 15. Yeah, I mean, I'm stoked. I think that just leaves them room to write, and they don't have to worry about literal exposition about what happened for the last 15 years. Out of all the 3 movies that they announced, this was absolutely the one that made me the most excited. All I wanted since the sequel trilogy ended was more of those characters. Hopefully John Boyega signs on. Yeah, I mean, it'll be tricky. I mean, we know Force ghosts are a thing. So
Yeah.
this is going to be tricky because really in the sequel trilogy, Rey wasn't necessarily strong enough to see Force ghosts,
Mhm.
And at the end, she heard him. She saw Luke on Octo. She's going to be strong enough to see Force ghosts. So how don't you just have like Mark Hamill and Hayden Christensen and every Force ghost ever talking to you? Like, it's a tricky thing that we might have to we're already suspending disbelief by watching Star Wars. We might have to suspend it even further.
Yeah, I'm on board though. I mean that a few people did it, but there's a really solid YouTube edit where somebody put in the Force ghosts of everyone who was speaking.
Yeah.
Oh
I
my
remember
god,
that. It was
It's
sweet.
amazing.
I think there's also a part of we're looking at the hierarchy of these things, right? You have a very, very, very vocal, dedicated fan base that is pining for an Old Republic era thing, right? We also have the High Republic, which is seemingly that's kind of now being brought really into the fray in terms of Fallen Order. There's definitely a lot of content that's kind of accumulating into it's going to be harder and harder for most people to ignore what they just don't want to see, right? So I do get worried that because there's a lot of stuff in the Old Republic that's really cool and doesn't feel anything like modern Star Wars for a modern audience, right? There's just like some overpowered characters. There's just like a lot of like kind of goofy, the lore makes sense, but it's just it might be hard to actually get original trilogy fans who didn't grow up with that to get like completely buy into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then at the same time we have like the Mando, like I have no idea if this is actually true, but there has been positive, really, really, really positive reviews. Not reviews, but there's been really positive feedback from what they've seen from Ahsoka. Of course, rest in peace to Ray Stevenson. That was absolutely tragic that we found that out. And then we have the sequel to the sequel trilogy, which in my opinion, of those 3 movies, the Mandoverse is the way to get people back into a movie theater to go and see the most probably iconic character in the past 10 years. And then Rey would come after that for a younger audience. That I was just at Motor City Comic Con last weekend. I saw 3 Reys. So despite what angry 40-plus-year-old men think on the internet, it turns out that there are kids who like a character that was designed for a new crop of Star Wars fans. Shocking that happens.
Give credit to the 40-year-old men. I feel like they're not even half as pissed off as the millennials who grew up on the prequels.
This is true.
That's where all the hate is. And it's ironic as hell.
Yeah, this is actually very true. So I'm personally really excited about the fact that the sequel trilogy sequel is kind of wide open. There's a ton of stuff that I think that if Filoni wants to somehow extend the series to say, we want to be able to jump even further into the series. I mean, again, we talked about this, the fact that we might be able to see Mandalorians in this Rey film, which I don't think we will, but the fact that how they write the story of the Mandalorians could exist in that film, in the universe of when they're writing it. I'm like, that's something to get really excited for. So I don't know. I don't know what's the most important one, but in terms of thinking what's going to get the most people in the theaters, I mean, it's going to be super exciting for people to go to the movie theater and see a Avengers style movie of Star Wars with characters that we grew up watching on TV, literally like 5 years ago. So something to think about.
Yeah, it's going to be insane. And let's move on. Speaking of Mandalorians, great question. And here we are, like, just breaking tradition and theorizing all over this podcast. I'm trying to remember who it was, and I'm just going to find his post. I don't know if this theory has been around, but Darth Lunchbox, Josh K, in our chat here, says, is Dryden Voss's... Nope, wait a minute.
Oh, it's Matty Gunner was the Dryden Voss theory.
Matty Gunner was the original, yeah. Mm-hmm. So what do we think about the theory that Dryden Voss is a Mandalorian, a former Mandalorian?
I think that theory has more words written than Lucasfilm has words written for Dryden Voss's future. Like that is so well fleshed out and makes sense, but I don't think Lucasfilm has like a backstory of Dryden Voss. But I love this theory. I mean, all of this stuff makes sense and is cool and gives his character more depth.
It would make a lot of sense, thinking about what people tried to figure out what to do with their life, what they do, when their entire planet's gone. And we're seeing it in the Mandalorian. Some of them just turn into shady mercenaries and some of them going the more righteous path. It would be pretty sick. And I'm about it. Is this a theory that's like been around that I just missed somehow, that people are really talking about?
I haven't seen it at all.
I'm sure it kind of spun off of like, how did he get? I mean, I know that he's basically in like probably rare antiquities, and he's
Mhm.
got a trophy room, I assume. But he's got that. Remember, he had that kind of like Mandalorian style. It looked more like traditional samurai in the back of his ship.
Mhm.
And so I think that's probably where people were like, ooh. But I think when we see him at that point of he's already pretty well established with Crimson Dawn. So, it's like he's not that old, which makes me think that he could have been raised Mandalorian and then was like, get rich or get out of the way.
Died
Yeah.
trying.
Yep.
He's
Yeah, what's-
also like the Mandalorians we see in the Clone Wars. They're all white blonde people, so he
Yeah.
fits that. But do you want to go over these bullet points that Maddie brings up?
Ooh,
Yeah,
ooh,
sure.
we got bullet points.
All right. Oh, we
Oh,
do. That's what I'm
yes.
saying. Like this seems so much more like fleshed out than Lucasfilm probably has.
Yes.
But his first bullet point was the first light was built on Kalevala, a planet in Mandalore system,
It's
and it was
true.
built by the same corporation who built Satine ship. So,
Mhm.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
he has a suit of Mandalorian armor on his ship. Okay,
Yes.
he is highly trained in like hand-to-hand combat. Okay.
Mhm.
He obviously had a connection to Maul Mandalorians, Maldalorians, all that type of. That's a huge connection.
I like this. I
Yeah.
like where this is going.
This is all checking out really, really clean.
This I don't remember, but we saw Dryden Boss for a second in the Clone Wars, right?
Yes.
I know.
Yep.
Okay, so
He was just
this
in a
last
hollow.
bullet point says Dryden was ordered by Maul to go into hiding during the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's another connection to Maul there.
Okay.
Like I said, I'll believe anything because I just don't.
I like it.
Do they even have plans? They probably don't even have plans for Dryden Voss's character. So
I feel like it's the kind of thing where, I mean, it could be John and Larry Kasdan just thinking like, oh, that would be kind of cool, right? If he had some kind of affiliation, cool. And then Filoni ran with it in season 7.
Yep.
And then the mental rabbit hole, the thought experiment that went down in Filoni's brain is probably as far as it's gone. Like you're saying, there's probably nothing on paper. If there is, it's in the notes app in Filoni's phone. But the thoughts have been thought, you would think, whether or not there's any kind of plan. Just like Lucas back in the day, like the amount of crap that he had on, yellow notebook paper and just in his head, like, oh, this would be cool one day. And then sometimes he did it. Sometimes he just flipped it to something completely different. It's a completely viable theory that wouldn't require a bunch of retconning.
Mhm.
So I hope they go for it.
So, and then Logan in our Discord also did say that it's like near human, because remember when he gets super mad, he has that those tracks like light up, they like get super red on his face. So maybe that makes me think that he's not Mandalorian. I don't know. They were pretty into that pure blood weirdo stuff.
Yeah, true.
So I don't know. That's the only thing that I'm thinking that might. I don't know.
I mean, he could have been a foundling from one of the moons. I mean,
it's true.
They
This
haven't.
Is true.
They've named, what is it, 3 moons or whatever in canon.
Yep.
Doesn't mean they can't throw another one in there.
Okay. Yeah.
Doesn't mean
There's
they
another moon behind the one moon.
Nice. There was a dark side of that moon.
Yeah.
Yes.
long eclipse. That's why we couldn't see it. So, I mean, even they haven't gone deep on anything other than Concordia, right?
And
Yeah,
Concord Dawn, and yeah,
there's like not a ton in canon compared to a lot of other things. There's lots of wiggle room. There's lots of space to write stories, is what I'm saying. So
sure.
they could make it make sense.
All right, sure. You heard it here on the podcast second. Shout out to Matty Gunner. You heard it here first.
Yeah. Shout out.
Good stuff.
All right. What else? What do you guys think? Oh, here we go. Speculation and hopes for Kenobi season 2 from Peyton P.
Oh man.
Mike, you spoke up. So what do you think?
So
Because we heard some stuff recently.
Yeah, definitely. I think that there is a tremendous opportunity. Like kind of looking back on it, I think in a way, I think that there's some corporate mingling that stretched out Kenobi's story for probably more episodes than it was originally designed for, just because to do the whole like make sure you're a subscriber at the beginning of the month so that you can see the season finale kind of a thing. There's stuff that's obviously happened, CEO changes and all that stuff that you can now read about strategy and stuff like that. So in a lot of ways, I would be interested in seeing. I'm trying to come at it from a standpoint of being like, is Kenobi a compelling character that has existed in all of our hearts and all of our minds because of what he's been? And at some point, do we have to let him sit in our brains and not our eyeballs to just say what he learned from Qui-Gon when they left at the end of the series? Is that what led us to the point where another 10 years later, here comes Luke Skywalker in Beggar's Canyon looking for Obi-Wan Kenobi, and like what he has learned along that process of times where he's probably helped save Luke. But you just get to a point where eventually it's like you keep treading. Would there be no way to retread around the idea that like Obi-Wan is there to protect Luke? How many times would we want to repeat that story? And would it turn into something where people would eventually just start saying like, what's he even doing? Like just blah, blah, blah. And I almost get more scared of what could go wrong versus a really great story that would make sense for a continuation of where we saw him. And there's almost kind of like do we want to let his character settle from the epicness that was Revenge of the Sith, then into Kenobi, where we see a man who's like regained his trust in the Force, amazing battle with Darth Vader on whatever. Did we say what that final planet was? It was definitely did we have?
It seemed like Malachor, right?
I thought it was Malachor, right? Yeah. Okay. So
I don't think that it's like confirmed, but
right.
It makes
so
sense
it's like at some point you just have to leave these pieces where they sit so that your brain can just settle on them. And I don't know, like season 2 would be awesome because I'll take any more Kenobi, but simultaneously at the same time, it's also like, do we want to let his character rest so that we can make that gap in our mind versus figuring out, seeing someone else's other interpretation of it? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's an interesting question.
To me, before the series or whatever, if it was going to be a movie first, if you asked me 5 years ago, and told me Ewan McGregor was coming back, what do you want to see? It would be Kenobi and Vader. So I don't know what else would be compelling that has implications on, at this point, if you're going season 2 and it's after, obviously in the timeline after season 1, you're just getting closer to A New Hope, and what the Empire just has even more of a stronghold. Like, what is the story? It left off with him kind of with Qui-Gon. So just what's the story? The only thing I could really think of, which makes somewhat sense, but I don't think it would have any impact on A New Hope or the original trilogy, is somehow Cal Kestis, that sort of thing. And maybe one of these new Jedis that have, whether it's Ahsoka, Cal, one of these people that have been introduced post original trilogy, someone needs to die. They're not in the original trilogy, So like, if it's the video game character, that could resonate pretty huge with a pretty successful video game franchise. I just don't know. I don't know what the story is.
Right. And then simultaneously, like I would be interested in seeing more of the network of the path. Like that would be interesting. I mean, the fact that that everyone everyone who has followed Star Wars outside of traditional, film or TV media knows who Quinlan Vos is, right? He's this he's got this great design. Of course, like Hollywood's so boring at this point. They'd be like Jason Momoa's Quinlan Vos. But I think that there's something in there that would give a little bit of breath to possibly inquire a little bit more about other Jedi. But then at the same time, I get so nervous because it's like the power of what could be a live action retelling of what happened in Rebels. But that episode, The Twin Sons of Rebels, is like one of the greatest animated Star Wars episodes of all time. So I would get very protective of that, because I think that like Kenobi's arc in Rebels is so great on its own. And I just, I don't know. It's hard. It's really hard because like there's been some other media that has done those characters so well. And just to bring it in for, a live action retelling to just try to get more eyes on it, I'd love to see that. But simultaneously, like, I don't know. I'm nervous.
Yeah. I think, speaking of animation, I think it would be awesome to do a Clone Wars animation style, because that's my favorite personally, thing that's about the path, that is all about Jedi and working with little, fragmented rebel cells rather than focusing on a particular cell of rebels like we had in the Rebel series. You know what I mean? More, it could be Quinlan. It could be Quinlan's series altogether, like it could be focused on him. I would love to see that. And I don't know. I mean, I guess it's hard to think of how that would specifically differentiate from Rebels, but
that's what I mean. It's tough. Like
it'd
then
have to be so character driven with the kids, But
yeah.
I think you're just, to me, it starts the more and more you introduce more force sensitive kids, you just have this huge question of where are they?
Yeah.
And I just think that that's a question we don't need to ask, because then we're going to have so many people asking for an answer. Like, where are they in the original trilogy? So it just seems like, why not adapt that story to Rey is doing that? Rey is finding force sensitive kids, and she's clearly building a new Jedi Council in her new movie. So I don't know.
Or is it is the Kenobi season 2 basically to launch Temuera Morrison as 12 different people?
Yeah.
Starring Temuera Morrison as Captain Cody.
I mean, supposedly, I will take this as fact, because I can't imagine it not being fact. But rumor is Temuera Morrison will be in Ahsoka as Captain Rex. All reports are pointing to that. And
we knew that.
Is he the last? Yeah, is he the last of like Filoni created characters that we haven't seen yet?
Well,
there's probably a couple more, but like as far as like main characters go,
I mean, if you count Rebels, we haven't seen Kanan. We'll hopefully see Ezra in this thing, and hopefully he's not just dead. He's dropped that, and Ahsoka just finds Thrawn. Yeah, Kanan would be the only one, unless they do a flashback with Kanan, which would be weird.
But Freddie Prinze just said that, like, he's like, "No, man, I'm too old. I'm too old for that." Which, like, I don't know. He's also an actor, so people. I mean, how hard did Lars Mikkelsen be like, "No, I've never heard of Captain Thrawn."
Yeah, same thing with me.
Yeah, right. No, I've never been on it.
I never got the call.
Here's my lightsaber though that I have, and Jimmy Kimmel's like, "Oh wow, okay, sounds good. We were just talking about Star Wars randomly." Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's a good question, but that's one that I tread lightly. I think some of our patrons in the Discord are more looking at a Vader. Would be interested in a short, mini series of like just Vader's brutality, which
that's what I'm into.
Yeah, which is tough because again, like I've talked about this on the podcast before. There goes between a line of being like, are we just looking for violence porn, or are we looking for Vader to be fleshed out as a character that like possibly starts to show his own struggle, which I think that we kind of saw in Kenobi, is his struggle of like trying to maintain the fact that he has to be angry to tap into his power now, and that like he's trying to like actively kill the part of him that remains, that wants to draw to the light. So you know, I mean, at this point, I would take a Rogue Squadron series that's just X-Wings flying around.
Yeah.
This has been my banter on this podcast for years now. Just give us that, and we don't have to worry about any characters. We can have all new characters. Ship go fast. Thank you very much.
I mean, that seems. I don't know what it is. Like, I have enjoyed all new Star Wars, but there's just something about not needing to speculate on, well, if Kenobi season 2 happens, how is it going to lead into New Hope and blah. It's like so freeing to have new characters with a completely open-ended, you know, it change. You could speculate based off of what, if it's a TV show or a movie, but you don't have to consider the Skywalker saga. And I think that that's got to be, that's such a big point. They have to move in that direction. I know that they're kind of just found their footing almost 10 years after buying Lucasfilm, and Mandalorian's a big hit. Cool. So let's live in this for a little bit. But
right,
the sequel trilogy characters just need to, like, that needs to move forward. And that's going to be what Star Wars is. Grogu will be there to kind of combine the two eras of the Disney Plus series and then TV and then movies. So I don't know.
Last thing I'll say on this. You could do a Vader series that is focused on him maybe turning an Inquisitor or someone else into a Sith apprentice, and that struggle between, knowing, the master always knowing that the apprentice will seek an apprentice and then try to overthrow or kill the master. I think there's some fun stuff to do there, and they could weave Cal Kestis into that.
Sure.
So
okay.
I mean, those games are just like, gaming in general. It's bigger than the movie industry, so it's an untapped storytelling fountain. Fountain's not the right word. It's a deep mine in terms of like putting stuff on screen that there's a built-in audience for. So I think he's going to show up regardless.
Yeah.
I mean, some stuff that clearly needs to happen that hasn't happened yet is getting kind of ridiculous. Like, Cal needs to happen in live action. Hey, you want your Disney parks to do a lot better? Put Batu in a show. We've been saying that for 5 years at this point.
Skeleton Key.
Skeleton Crew.
Yeah.
Duh, my bad.
Yeah,
Idiot.
I mean, seriously, just way to, like, it's almost insane to me that they haven't done it yet. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I really think that someone at Disney is saying, look, everyone thinks that everything we do is just for money. If we don't wait at least a few years, that's all anyone's going to say about it. Look, see, they're just trying to sell tickets to the park. They got to give it some time,
Disney's almost going out of business because of that.
Didn't Galaxy's Edge open today?
What do you
in 2019?
Yeah. No, yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
We're only a few years in.
Happy birthday on Batu.
Seems like it's been forever, though, in some ways. It seems like it's always
been there.
Yeah.
It's 5 years, though, which is what's crazy. You think about it that way, right? No, 4 years. 4 years, right? So, but you think about that and you go, we're approaching half a decade, which, like, in American attention span is pathetic. But I mean, that's insane that we have gone so many times. And previously, I had never been to Disney before, and I've been like 5 times. And I would have never gone there if Galaxy's Edge wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, I mean, I lived here 2 years before Galaxy's Edge opened, and I went to Disney twice in those 2 years. And then Galaxy's Edge opened, and I was like, you can't make me leave. I'm staying.
How many times have you gone this year, Nick?
I don't know. I
Countless.
literally have no. Yeah, I mean more than 10.
Not enough.
Impressive. Most impressive.
So Peyton also, while we're on the subject of Starcruiser and Galaxy's Edge, or we're talking about Galaxy's Edge. We're going to talk about Starcruiser for just a second. Peyton talked about how it's so meaningful for everyone who experienced it. Talking about us, I assume specifically in this point, Sakuzi. He's never going to have a chance, unfortunately.
Mhm.
He had hoped it would be his first venture into costuming and cosplay, and at least one of his kids. Question is, what is a good gateway into cosplaying with the Halcyon now being grounded? Mike, this is probably a good question for you.
Sure. Well, I think, Peyton, wherever you are, your local convention or a convention that would be travelable for you and your kid is a great way to just have fun. Almost at every large city that has a convention, the 501st are there. You can go and wear something. The 501st, Rebel Legion, Mandalorian Mercs, any of those costuming crews are going to obviously welcome any kind of Star Wars inspiration with open arms, and we'll probably take a bunch of pictures with you. But simultaneously, at the same time, there is a huge amount of people that go pretty heavy into costuming just for Galaxy's Edge. And there have been people who, I know that sometimes it feels a little goofy to go, I'm going to walk around in Florida with all Star Wars on while I'm riding Mickey's Runaway Railroad. I get that. But I've seen an X-Wing pilot flying on Toy Story Land or whatever it's called. But I think to even just to not just kind of think in the mindset of the Halcyon is closing, so I can't cosplay anymore, which I know is not what he's saying. But I think certainly like your convention is a great place to start. I think the online community that of costumers that have kind of been in our network, clearly Celebration, if you can go to Celebration, that's incredibly welcomed. And I think in general, just do it because you want to, not because you don't know if there's an opportunity to wear it. But I certainly would say that your local conventions and Batu, going to Disney and hanging out in the Star Wars land is totally acceptable. To be yourself, wear what you want, look cool, get a photo in front of the Millennium Falcon, dress up, and come to Mos Eisley.
Yeah, that's the thing.
We'll welcome you.
Cons and park going, bounding, you can't officially wear like a full-blown costume of a character who could potentially be at the park. But the bounding thing is a great entry point, like a low friction entry point into costuming, when you can take kind of earthly things and make something that has the vibe of the character, but isn't a full-blown costume. And just that process of kind of gathering things, even around your house, going like, oh, that scarf could work, or these pants have kind of the right kind of pockets and, stitching, whatever, this works. It's so exciting. I mean, I have a whole trunk full of just crap that, kind of looks like stuff. And either I'm going to tear it up and sew it into something, or I'm just going to throw it on and let it be Abound. And to me, that's, even if you never build a full costume, that's all the fun in the world. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So just do that.
Yeah, I think, and if you're looking for a reason, Mike, you kind of touched on it. I mean, 501st it's a nonprofit. They do tons of events, whether it's baseball games, going to hospitals, and stuff like that. So if you need like a reason, like motivation to actually put together a costume, getting approved by the 501st will eventually get you some gigs, I feel like, where you could at least meet other costumers and do some good.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, hey, just do it for the gram, man.
Do it for the gram. There's a great account to follow. I can't remember the exact Instagram handle, but Billy Maddox, Billi.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have like costumes, like 501st approved costumes. His whole thing is, I mean, he may have some, but his whole Instagram is dressing like Star Wars in day-to-day life.
Sure.
cargo pants and cool belts and
Mhm.
what are the boots? Chelsea boots.
Yeah.
And like all the vests and things like that. And he'll post where he gets them from.
Yep.
And he'll post like every day in the bathroom at work or whatever. He just takes a shot of his daily outfit. And I'm hella jealous of that. And that's just like going to H&M and Target basically.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn,
Yeah.
why have I not overhauled my whole wardrobe?
Sure.
So check him
Yeah,
out.
I think he goes by I think it's Maker Maddox.
Maker Maddox. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So yeah, he's a super nice guy. He makes a lot of really cool stuff, and yeah, he's been really good at putting together like there's a couple people out there that have put together almost like inspiration palettes of just kind of giving you an idea of like, okay, when someone says dressed like Star Wars, it's like, are we wearing vests? That's always the thing, vests and ponchos and kind of oversized belts. And you can, at this point, you can get so many awesome things off Amazon with a little bit of powder, weathering powders and pigments. You can look very, very swarzy, very, very quick, and actually quite affordable too. So
yeah,
that's it.
The kind of turtleneck sweater thing, like the baggy thing that was underneath my poncho at the first Mosh Isley at Celebration 2021, whatever, was a women's maternity clearance thing at Target that was like $7.
I remember how hyped you were to tell,
Yeah.
like you sent us a picture of it in the dressing room. You're
Yeah.
like, guess what this is? Like, I have no idea. It just looks like a shirt. You're like, wrong. It's a women's maternity shirt.
It's warm as hell though. It's a winter maternity shirt apparently, because I'm sweating my ass off in that thing with a poncho over the top.
That's par for the course with cosplaying. You're just gonna
Yeah.
sweat.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Yeah, it's a desert. Put on all the layers. That's what you do.
Nick, did you I mean, we're not going to give it away, but did you do any cosplay recently that you liked?
Yes.
Okay. So there you go.
Period.
There you go. So now you guys know this mystery.
We
Nick
posted
did-
about it. No, it's not a mystery. We posted about it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So Nick got to dress up like a biker scout, the
Mhm.
top half of him. And what do you think? Can I talk you into maybe making one?
Yeah, you could talk me into that.
Okay, sounds good.
Just
I
the
will.
top that I put on was so much more comfortable and easy than other things that I own.
Okay, so you guys heard it here first. 501st Pathfinders, we're on the way.
Can't you get your Mando kit approved by the Mandalorian mercs?
Probably. I keep saying that I'm going to go spend a weekend in Vegas and just work on it with Nino. And every time I go to Vegas, it's for other things than working on armor.
Classic. Just a classic case right here.
I just went to Vegas this last weekend, but I had to see Bad Religion and Rancid.
Oh, it's classic. Again, another classic Gambarian right here.
If there's anything that I am, it's classic.
Classic Neesons. So Jason and Ryan M and Heath in the chat are all talking about going back to the Starcruiser thing and what to do since it's gone. So there's Outpost X, which is opening this year in northern Utah, somewhere in Utah. That's like some Tatooine style huts, bed and breakfast, just a handful of them in the middle of nowhere kind of thing. That, it's by no means like a live action role playing thing, but someone else, I'm trying to find it in the stream chat back here. It's back like a half hour. Someone was talking about something else that is like a LARP kind of thing. Did you guys see this?
Mm-mm.
Oh, Jason Chiodo said it. There's like a fan source Star Wars LARP. He said there's going to be a Starcruiser Burning Man somewhere. What the hell is it? Yeah, it's not Outpost X.
I have that feeling that Outpost X is about to get very popular with Starcruiser closing.
Yeah. And I think people are going to fully just commandeer the experience and turn it into something far beyond what it is, because they're making like land speeders out of golf carts and stuff like that, but they're not going full on. So
right. But I think then people are gonna like you know, we've even thought about this like at our own Halloween parade that we have, or it's not a Halloween parade, but we have like here in our little town in Michigan, we've got a downtown trick-or-treating that like all the businesses downtown in our, 100 and 200 block contribute. And we went with a pretty big 501st presence here, and people just thought it was the coolest thing, right? So we're kind of already thinking like there's all these kids waiting in different lines to go into the stores to get candy. And, we're like, should we have 2 people dressed as, Jedi or Rebel pilots being like, run up to random kids who are at the end of the line and be like, hey, here's a code disc. Like, don't let the stormtroopers see it. And then the stormtroopers would walk over and be like, we're looking for a code disc. Who's going to, just something to like add to the interactivity of what would be really fun. And we have done that at some of the cons. We do that at the movie theaters, just to make it a little bit more experiential. And I think what you're going to see at Outpost X is like, yeah, you might get some people that could be super interested in actually having actors come and like present a part of the experience. Possibly, could you possibly say we have an acting company that's going to come and like do a story for us, and you pay the acting company on top of just as separate from Outpost X for just the lodging and accommodations? Like that could be kind of interesting. So I think people are going to miss Starcruiser for sure, because that level of it was so dialed in, but I think it's going to inspire people to kind of say, what can we do outside of all the flash and magic, which is kind of part of Star Wars. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what they can do with it, but I do not doubt the fandom for a second.
Yeah, there's a giant void that will need to be filled in a few months, and like you said, you can never underestimate what the fandom will pull off. So I'm stoked for it, because we're all, despite the fact that we're going on the second to last voyage, we're already feeling that big void in our hearts and our fan experience. So we'll see how it pans out. Let's start wrapping up, and there's a good Obi-Wan Kenobi, Logan Foy. William Ryan Key is watching Rebels right now. He's in the middle of it, and he said if he could be so bold, he may be on Nick's page feeling like Rebels is that he prefers Rebels over the Clone Wars.
We should just do an episode.
Man.
Let's just do an episode one day. Rebels versus the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Ryan was the saltiest dude about being like, I can't get into it. Now he's gonna
flip, dude.
Right? He's gonna get to the end of season 2 and be like, where's the show been the whole time? You're like, dude.
He's gonna see one of the best Star Wars that ever Star Warsed, and it's just like, oh, this is cool.
Oh, that's good. Oh, the Discord is like blowing up over being like, let's go out and let's do burning. They're calling it burning mosh out at Outpost X. That's great,
dude.
That would be amazing.
There's no reason that we can't get to the point with Mosh Isley where we can do an actual cruise, like the Emo's Not Dead cruise, the Warped at Sea cruise, and just go for it. It might be years from now, but there's no reason that can't happen.
I like that. I like that idea a lot. I'm also saying though, like, let's do Outpost X. Like, let's see if we can get our buddy Robbie.
Dude,
come on. Like, let's figure it, like have him and a couple company people come out. Like, let's
pay for their trip.
Let's do it. All right.
Just
we'll put together the plan.
We'll book the whole thing. We'll add on whatever we need to pay for the cast members to come and do a side gig, a little side work. Yeah. Ooh. This is a great idea.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes.
Making dreams come true. A couple quick things before we wrap here. Sky's the limit. Any plans to bring music friends back on? Love to hear Feldman or Mike Herrera again. Yes. I was actually saying the other day, since we're now on YouTube and we're reaching another, a bigger audience, and we're doing video, there's no reason we can't bring every guest that we've already had on back on again to stream with us. So I think that's a great idea. And Maleficent wants us to talk more about Mosh at San Diego Comic-Con. If you're watching right now, you have like
1 hour,
1 or 2 hours, right?
We'll do it's San Diego, so let's do Pacific time. So we still have 4 hours until midnight.
4 hours to get merch bundle pre-sale packages. Merch that will not be available for sale separately. You can only get it via moshisley.com. They're great shirts.
Nick, where's yours?
I made a
Oh,
video
yeah.
today, and it was posted
Oh my god.
on the internet, on the Instagram.
Who wants
On
to
the
see it?
gram.
Who wants to see it? I'm looking at YouTube. Oh. Rourke wants Dion back on.
Yeah, we have to have Dion.
Yeah, we have to have
Well,
Dion.
we'll
from,
reach out
Amberlin,
to
yeah.
people we've had before, and then we should find some new people. And I think just in general, us doing video now, I mean, YouTube obviously is a huge thing. We could bring people on who have some sort of YouTube presence already.
Collabs.
Not even just musicians, but other cool people.
This is interesting.
George Lucas.
So are we?
He's a huge YouTuber, or
Yeah,
is he a huge TikToker? I forget.
That's he.
George loves TikTok.
Yeah, he does. He strikes me as a guy who loves that. So we are going to talk briefly about Mosh before we go because we're ramping up.
There was another question about, is there, let me find it here, potential for
Kelly?
Oh, Kelly says plans for Mosh in Japan 2025. I mean, we're moving and shaking. I mean, I would love to do it there. We'll see. It's definitely far off for us to plan.
Nick isn't allowed to go because he has tattoos. Sorry.
No, man.
No, we're good.
Wrong culture. Tattoos are all good.
I would say yes. You know what I would
Whoa.
Here we go. Here we
All
go.
right.
I'm
outta
not
here.
100% confirmed yet.
I gotta make the poster. I gotta go.
2023 It's the middle of 2023 right now. If in a year and a half Mosh Isley isn't like 10 times bigger than it is right now, I'll eat this hat. So
It's on the internet.
we're 2 years away.
I'm here.
We're 2 years away. We're gonna make it happen.
That hat doesn't look very edible, so I'm going to take
I
your
love
word
this
for it.
hat. Please don't make me eat it.
All right, let's close with this. Mike, our buddy Jason Chiodo, who I forgot to mention earlier, is doing this project with us and just crushing it. Kiefer as well. We're doing really cool things that we can't talk about specifically because it's a surprise. So shout out Jason and Kiefer and everyone else involved. We got a lot of people.
Like let's frame it up a little bit. And I know that everyone thinks that I'm notorious for saying so. Just
you are, don't you?
No.
Shh. Don't say why.
Just give me 1 second, okay? It is going to be more of an experience than we've ever done before because we have different capabilities technologically this time. And that's all I'm going to say, okay? So when people are looking at
We're getting a
us
slide projector.
okay, there's going to be, and Adam's going to go, okay, here's us when we walked into the Halcyon and then noticed there was a large TV in front.
Advanced slide.
Yep. And then the red pointer.
Yep.
So, but we have some technological capabilities. We're pulling out all the stops. We know that in general, San Diego, especially during San Diego Comic-Con, is not a overly affordable place to hang out casually. So we know that we are honoring that that ticket and what you're getting for it, and that experience is going to be this by far will be the most in-depth experiential Mosh Isley we have ever done. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, everyone chill out. Everyone is ready to pounce. But I'm saying if you are on the fence about being like, should I go to Mosh Isley in San Diego, you literally have 3 more hours to buy a ticket and go get the t-shirt bundle, get the poster bundle, and come and hang out with us. It is going to be insanely cool.
After that, it's just general admission. So get it together. All right.
And I want to draw a parallel here to Bayside ticket sales and Mosh Isley ticket sales right now.
Okay.
Bayside shows generally sell out, but they trickle. The sales trickle. They trickle, and then a week before, a couple days before, the shows sell out. Mosh Isley will sell out. Right now, there are tickets left, but it will sell out. So, Mike, you just said if you're on the fence about going, blah, blah, blah. It's like, don't be on the fence. Just buy tickets. If you can't make it, sell them. Someone's going to want them.
Yeah, get them.
And
case, you get the T-shirt and everything, and you just whoever you hand the tickets off to, they pick it up for you at the show. If you don't go,
I think Dano just jumped on and said, I just screen recorded that clip just to make sure no one said anything. I think, I mean, Nick is right. I think what we're getting used to for what is traditionally, I guess, San Diego Comic-Con culture is Comic-Con is like literally like a hose. It's like a fire hose. You hear so little about it, and suddenly it's just like, here's 6,000 gallons a second just of information, and it all comes at like 2 weeks before. No one knows the guests who are there. It just literally is like, hey, we just want to remind you this is the biggest convention in the world. So if you are considering and going, I don't know what else is going on, it's it is going to be insane. We can also announce that we have a couple sponsors that are going to be helping us through the party.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest one for people who are into having a good time. New Belgium is sponsoring Mosh Isley this time,
Beers.
which is really rad. If you've ever had the Voodoo Ranger series or any of their other really great hazy IPAs, we have a whole bunch of they're offering a lot of their beer portfolio for us, which will be great for the VIP crew, and they're actually going to take care of a lot of they're going to help us promote, so we're excited about that. And then we have a couple other sponsors coming down the pipeline, but
we've got Crafted Cores again.
Yes.
And
yes.
Punch It Chewy Press.
Yep. So far of the ones that we can talk about, which is rad because Crafted was our sponsor for the first Mosh Isley. And of course with, and it's our venue, which I think is another thing. Cause I know that sometimes people have said, oh, if I can't bring my, if you're planning on going to the Padres game, and they won't let you bring your lightsaber in. Well, guess what? We're encouraging you to bring your lightsaber to Mosh Isley and come lose your mind with us. It'll be worth it.
Yeah, it's going to be wild. All right. Jason suggested answering the original Armor Party lightning round questions. Is that fast enough that we can knock that out in 5 minutes, or should we just get out of here?
Oh, boy. Yeah, let's do it. Do I have it? Do I have them?
That's a rhetorical question, I assume, because I don't have the answer.
Oh my gosh, I'd have to look and see what my very first episode with John Rodriguez was.
You don't know this off the top of your head? Some host.
I know, it's crazy. And shout out, of course, to everyone who has listened to Armor Party. I have gone through some personal things over the last 5 weeks that have distracted me greatly from my Star Wars endeavors, and I am so grateful for people who have asked and been like, "Hey, is everything cool?" It is. It's just, until Star Wars pays my bills, I've got to hang on for a second. And other than that, you guys, I'm bringing it back this summer, and maybe in a different format, because I'm so inspired by what we did here tonight. Look at this podcast.
What, audio, video, a third thing?
Third thing.
A fanzine. You should do the Armor Party fanzine.
A zine. All right, let's look and see if I've got the original.
Hand printed at Kinko's.
We've got July 1st. Nope, that's not it. Oh, I don't know if I have it. I'm looking.
I mean, any of those from the early episodes. It's all
okay. Here we go. All right, lightning round. I'm bringing it up. Here we
Nick,
go.
You go first.
Okay. Nick.
Yes.
Which costume in the Lucasfilm archives would you love to examine the most?
Is Jabba's Jabba a costume?
Well, there were like 4 dudes inside of Jabba, so I would actually say, of course, it's a costume. So
okay,
you like Jabba's Jabba. Okay.
Yeah.
Adam, what about you?
So just to check out, right? We don't get to take it home and
no, you cannot steal it. No, they make sure you don't.
Damn. Well, original trilogy, you said?
No, as long as it's in the Lucasfilm archives.
Oh, damn. I don't know. I mean, I would love. We get to handle the costume, right?
Yeah. With glove, you have to have gloves on though. I'm not letting you get your greasy mitts all over Boba Fett's original armor.
Anything that Carrie Fisher wore, just for the sentimental thing. Maybe sure. like the Endor, she's got that kind of like officer's uniform, then with the poncho and the thing. I'd love to hold that helmet, the original one, because I love the design of that helmet. And
the donut.
yeah, and I really like that officer's uniform, which was used as inspiration for
Conics.
well, Conics, and then something in what's her name did recently. It was in Mando.
You're talking about
We talked about it on an episode. Anyway, it was recently used as
the
inspiration.
amnesty program.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty sure.
Nice.
Oh no.
Right.
The uniforms. It was one of the New Republic uniforms.
Sure.
Yeah. So
Dig it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry.
so who
Lightning.
has the it's still lightning. So who has the coolest lightsaber in all of Star Wars? Nick? Come on, man, it's lightning round. You gotta answer.
Kylo just popped in my head. Love
Kylo Ren.
Mm.
Wow.
Love it.
A very strong blade. Unstable, but very strong. Adam, what's the coolest lightsaber in all of Star Wars?
It is a tie. Actually, no. Close second is Luke's Return of the Jedi saber, but my number one is Obi-Wan's. I really like that emitter style. I like that old grenade piece that's used for the kind of the midsection.
Yes.
Only thing I don't love about that era of lightsabers is a giant switch, because it's the most uncomfortable thing ever to carry.
Sure.
But Obi-Wan's has always been my favorite.
It's crazy we're both wrong because it's Leia. Leia has the best saber.
So
It is
You're
great.
talking about this switch right here.
God, it's so huge.
It's just so huge. So, okay, sounds good. All right. Let's see. Who has better costumes? Nick, the good guys or the bad guys of Star Wars?
Definitely the bad guys.
Okay, that was quick.
Definitely.
All right, Adam, good guys or bad guys? There's one answer. Go ahead and say it.
This depends on how you answer. I'm going to answer your question with a question.
Oh my gosh.
Are Mandalorians good guys or bad guys?
Yes, go on.
So both. The Mandalorians have the best costumes, period.
Wow, that is a bold statement. Please, in the comments, please fight amongst yourselves. Okay, so Mandalorians, there we go. So yeah, are the
Both.
most benevolent characters in Star Wars. You get to pick one blaster from all of Star Wars to take with you on your next mission. Nick, what blaster of Star Wars do you pick?
Mine's right here. Ray's blaster. Boom.
It's a good one.
He's got it ready to go. Adam, how about you?
You got to make that face that she makes.
Yeah.
DL-44, Han's blaster, 100%.
Yeah, pretty classic.
Or any of them. Luke has them. There's a bunch.
Right.
Han had a whole shoot, under the bed tub full of those. Apparently, there's like 9 different versions.
Right. C96 Chinese Mauser. Nice.
Yep.
Okay. If someone picked up the tab on your next build, all right. So now we're thinking like 501st, any costume that you could ever imagine making. And someone else said, listen, I just thank the maker so much. I want to pay for you to make a costume. No matter the cost. Nick, what character from Star Wars would you love to build the costume of?
Vader, and it has to have, the boots somehow have to make me just as tall as Vader.
Okay, sounds good.
I have to have lifts in them.
Okay, cool. So we now have. Okay, yeah, that's entirely doable for sure. So we'll put painter stilts on you, and we can make that happen.
Yeah.
Adam, how about you? What costume out of Star Wars would you like to become the character of?
I was going to say Vader as well, but since someone else is picking up the tab, all synthetic or vegan leather, mushroom leather. That's super expensive right now, or a cactus leather. There's a bunch of other options out there. But since Nick already picked it, I'll pick something else.
Okay.
I want a Wookiee costume.
Oh.
I want with the mask by
Tarful.
No, what? No, the maker. Damn it, we follow each other. He's great.
Captain Nader.
Captain Nader.
Yes.
Makes the best.
Yep. He does.
But I need it all made out of human hair. I know that sounds gross, but I'm not putting other animals fur on me.
All right.
Vegan again.
Okay, sure. It's a weird request, but it actually checks out. This tracks. Okay, sounds good. So we have a Vader and a Chewbacca. I actually would probably do
Any Wookiee.
Sure. I think I might do, which sounds crazy because I'm in the middle of a Boba Fett build. I actually might do Jango Fett.
Nice.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about.
You don't see enough Jango Fetts out there.
That's what I'm saying. That right? It's kind of unique. Let's say in Star Wars, Nick, what planet would you like to visit in Star Wars?
Alderaan.
Get out of my brain.
That is.
It's just beautiful.
It is.
Yeah.
It is very beautiful. Oh yeah. Okay. Adam, how about you? You can't pick Alderaan because Nick already did it.
Damn it, it's beautiful. It's like the Alps, but not cold.
Right. Well, it used to be like the Alps because remember
now it's
All
rocks.
right. Now it looks like birthday cake.
What's Space Miami called? Where
Niamos.
Niamos.
I'll go to Niamos. Welcome.
Yeah.
To
You want to
Niamos.
switch? Let's switch.
Sure.
You could have
All right.
Alderaan back.
Yeah.
I'll go to Niamos.
Deal.
I want a party.
Okay, sounds good. So one of you is flying to Alderaan, one of you is flying to Niamos, which I can't say because I'm Midwestern. Which ship would you get to that planet in? Nick, on all of Star Wars, what ship would you take?
I feel like I'm low key bougie, so one of Padme's ships because they're probably pretty bougie.
All right.
Okay, and a Nabooian
cruiser.
Cruiser. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Adam, how about you?
The Falcon, obviously.
I feel like I set you up for that.
It's the best ship.
It is. It really is. A Corellian YT 100 freighter. Okay, sounds good.
YT model freighter.
I mean, there's a lot of people in the comments that are saying that you guys might have picked the wrong stuff, which is fine. To each their own, and that's what makes Star Wars.
Hey, that's my
so
ship, dog.
amazing.
You can get your own ship.
That's right. You can win it from me in a game of sabacc.
Yeah.
So that's it. So that was 7 questions that I could ask for lightning round, and they only get more interesting from then on out. So I hope you guys will bring me back on to this podcast that I'm also part of.
Yeah, you'll be allowed.
And we can do this every single time.
I like it.
Wonderful.
This is good for streams.
It is good. It's very good. Look at the people are fired up. Oh, a lot of people said Chewie's bowcaster. So apparently, Nick, your blaster's too small. So
yeah, for sure. But
it's not the size of the
convenience,
blaster.
Convenience.
Yeah, I get it. I do.
All right, let's get out of here. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't pressed the subscribe button by now, weird. That's weird.
It is.
Press it. Force push it, whatever, smash it, hit the bell. Is there a bell still? I don't know. Do all the things that everyone else says to do. And share this. Actually, that would be as good or better than subscribing. Sharing a link to this YouTube channel or this specific video, whatever is your favorite so far. Shout us out on social media. It's really helpful because we have a ton of subscribers on the podcast, according to the analytics. We got to move those folks over or bring them to YouTube as well. So help us out. We appreciate it. Patrons, we really appreciate what you do. You make this thing possible for real. If you want to be a patron, listener, or viewer, patreon.com/ThankTheMakerPod is where you can go to do that. We have a completely ad-free podcast feed. There's exclusive merch. We're going to do some exclusive live streams. I'm getting the stuff set up. Obviously, look at us. We look so pro. We're getting there. We're really doing it. And it's as little as $5 a month, all the way up to, I think, 35 is the top tier, quarterly merch, stickers, shirts, all kinds of stuff. It's great. And thanks to Roosevelt's for everything, as always. MoshIsley.com if you want to get Mosh Isley tickets and those merch bundles, which will be gone in a matter of hours.
3.5 hours from right this second.
Do it. Follow us all on social media. That'll be in the show notes. Dudes, I love you.
I love you. Yeah. I love you guys.
You said the wrong thing, man.
I want you to know that I love you, though.
Okay,
I love you, man.
I know.
I know.
Until next time, may the force be with you.